Well, thank you so much, Malcolm, for taking the time to attend the EnergyBiz Leadership Forum and taking some time to speak with us this morning. I just wanted to ask you a few different questions about what's going on in the utility industry today, and to talk a little bit more about the role of the federal government in some of the things that are happening. So my first question for you is, what do you see as being some of the key challenges and opportunities in the power industry today?
With regards to AMI and the smart metering and smart grid solutions, remember there were, in the federal government applying for stimulus grants, there were about 420 applications, of which 100 were accepted in 49 states. So that leaves 320 that did not get anything. So what they have to do is to develop these smart grid and smart metering solutions in the general way that they have done with AMR before, which is a business case. They have to put together a business case that's not necessarily going to be 50% off like they were hoping for. So there's never been as much interest in this kind of technology and changing the way we do things as ever before. So the federal government certainly helped with this $3.4 billion of stimulus money and a few other millions in project funding, but it's really a drop in the bucket as far as what's needed. But they've stimulated it, and as I said in my talk today, I don't think there's any utilities that have signed up for the $3.4 billion and have got an agreement with the federal government on that, as far as contract terms with the Department of Energy. But as far as the interest, we have never, Itron in particular, has never been as active in responding to requests for proposals, ever. So it's on everybody's mind. As I talked earlier, the consumer, it's important that we get information to the consumer. And I think utilities now are realizing that it's not just a matter of improving efficient operations, it's actually getting more and more information into the hands of the consumer to make informed decisions. So the activity levels now are never been as high as they are today.
So you mentioned, a lot of the money coming from the federal stimulus plan as being more of a drop in the bucket in terms of what actually needs to be spent out there. Should the federal government be doing more or less? How do you see their involvement right now?
Well, certainly in the last year or the last 2 years, there's been more activity in the Department of Energy being involved. It's on the tip of everybody's tongue when they talk about this. So the amount of activity levels is incredible, and the amount of noise that the federal government's making on this is incredible. So from our standpoint, what else do they have to do? They have to eventually put together an energy policy. They haven't got an energy policy today. I was in DC maybe a few months ago. They said one of the things they have to focus on right now is to get the healthcare plan out of the way, and then they'll probably start looking at an energy policy. Well, we know what's happened on healthcare, so how long it's going to take for an energy policy, I'm not certain. But as we said at last year's EnergyBiz conference, there's an energy policy in Europe, there's an energy policy in Brazil, but we don't have an energy policy in the US yet. So that will certainly help if they could put together an energy policy.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one thing that I thought was very interesting that you brought up in your talk this morning was this discussion about water as being, definitely a critical, a critical thing for survival of humans.
Yep.
And the smart grid in a lot of cases has focused on that electric side. So, how do you see moving forward with more of an emphasis and a focus on water, and really considering how it can be a part of the smarter grid?
Well, let's face it, the federal government also put part of their stimulus package out of the $787 billion. They put $6 billion towards water. There was $4 billion that went towards what we call clean water, and there was $2 billion that went towards drinking water. out of that 2 billion for drinking water, I believe, or maybe out of the 6 billion, they have managed to secure contracts. Utilities and municipalities and water companies have managed to secure contracts for 70% of those. So the water side is certainly moving a lot quicker than the Department of Energy. And you know, the amount of infrastructure that we have for water, if you look at a mile of water piping versus a mile of electricity cables, I think the cost of doing the water infrastructure is significantly higher, to be honest with you. And it's, as you say, as I said earlier, in certain parts of the world, they just don't have any. I said in one part of the world, they have access to water every 2 hours in 24 hours. And they have to pump that water into a holding tank on the roof. And we take it for granted. We take electricity for granted, we take water for granted, we switch on the tap, and out comes the water. But that's not the same everywhere. So yeah, I think that the water infrastructure and water scarcity is critical. And we, as ITRON, has been spending a lot of time over the last few years with water metering. Water metering and AMR and AMI solutions, if you think about in the world, there are 300 million connections that are not metered. So that's 300 million meters that need to be installed, because if you don't measure it, you won't conserve it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the opportunities for everybody is enormous, and we just won a contract in Mumbai for leak detection and AMR solutions and metering solutions, and they waste 185 million gallons a day on leak on leakages. So it's important that over not just this country, but all countries, they really start investing in water conservation.
Yeah, I mean, the water issue seems like it's definitely going to be
absolutely
critical.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us
You're
today.
very
We
welcome.
appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.